This is my second time doing this because I forgot to record the audio portion. So, coming back from where we were, in the last one we created the ability for the AI to attack, which is all fine and dandy, but that leaves just the AI attacking us. So we need to be able to attack the AI. But we currently don't have any stance to do so. And what I did in a previous run of this is I went to the animation starter pack and I clicked on the first one and scrolled all the way down. I held shift and clicked on the last one and held control and then clicked on the ones that are not animations. And as what this did is I was able to right click it, retarget animation that says duplicate and retarget, show only compatible skeletons, we've been over this, and then find your skeleton that you've been using, and then retarget. And then I went ahead and moved them all into my mannequin animations folder. So now they are all part of all this. And so I also created another blend space, and I'll explain why. If we open this up, we kind of want to start from scratch, because I don't know, I just feel like it's better to start from scratch. What we don't have is the ability to hold a gun in any of these animations. So, open up our third-person blend space that we've created, and we've created this by right-clicking, go to animation, and we did blend space 1D for this particular animation. Because at this point, we're only going to get the speed that we need. So, this horizontal axis, the name, we're going to call it speed, just like in the previous one. I want to call this speed 375. And now, this maximum access value is 375, and the minimum will be 0 with an interpolation of, let's do 0.2. Nope, 0.1. So, we want to find the idol with the rifle at the hip. Because that is just, hip fire. We want jog forward rifle. And that will be jogging forward rifle with the hip. And we want sprint forward rifle. Again, sprinting with the rifle in the hand. We have this at 94, which is just fine. So we're going to save this and keep everything just as it is. And now we're going to open up our mannequin animations. We're going to scroll down to our blueprint, our animation blueprint. We no longer need this. You hold Alt and click on the link, and that'll dislink it. And I'm just going to keep this here just to show you the difference between them two. So now we have our third person blend space. Connect the speed into it, connect the output into the result. Straighten it out, compile, save. So there really isn't that much difference between it besides its name. But now these are two completely different blueprints. If we go to the right side to the animation preview editor, we can move the speed and we can get a visual representation on the left side of how fast our character is moving. And of course in the center you can see that green dot moving as well. So I'm going to set that back to 0 just so it doesn't keep playing like that. Now that we have a position to have a gun, now that we're in position to hold this weapon, we want to put a weapon inside of his hand. And this is done by going back to your mannequin. In our case, it will be the mannequin folder, into the character, and we'll go into the mesh. And here we have the mesh of the character. We have different options due to the Unreal mannequins, and we have a female option. We don't really need that. In this case, we're using the man mannequin, but there's real no intent on that. But we're going to open up the Mannequin Skeleton, and we're going to use the left side over here, and each of these points right here represent the root of a bone. See, the root of your character right here is the root of your character. So if you were to rotate the root, your whole character would start rotating. We're going to keep that as 0 because that's where we want it. And we have this, the spine, the pelvis. We're going to rotate that, and that's where your character will rotate. We'll click on the hand. We'll start rotating that, and the hand starts rotating. So we want to preview animation at the top, and we want to find our because we used hip, I believe, right? Or yeah, idle rifle hip is what we used. We're gonna preview the animation so we can get an understanding of where this weapon is going to be. And so I now get in a side view of the character here, and on the bottom here you'll see this little scale. All the way to the right side will have pause. Dismiss this real quick just because that's in the way. We have pause. We'll pause that. And where we want this is our character right now is holding it in his right hand. So we click on hand right, hand R, because that's in our list here as the right hand, hand R. We want to right click hand R, and we want to add a socket to it. And now you'll see another thing highlighted down here. Let's click on that just so that's the only thing highlighted. We're going to right click it. We're going to rename that right hand. So when we go to spawn anything, we're going to try and spawn it in the location of the right hand. And this will always be attached to this location to the skeleton, no matter in what position that he's in. So if we go to idle pistol, we back out a little bit, you can see that the same position is there. And that's because it's now in his right hand. That's his right hand position. So we have a little problem here where we can move really fast. If you hold shift, no, that didn't work at all. Oh yeah, it moves fast because I'm using the middle mouse, but my bad. Right click, hold the right click. And so let's get a good view on that. While you're holding right click, if you scroll outward, you can slow it. If you scroll inward, it speeds it up by a lot. So we'll scroll outward by holding the right click, and it'll slow down the movement. Alright, so we need to position this in a way that this will be the root of our model that we're going to use. So in our right hand, so you want to go to the front page here, and as I said before, I have the military weapons silver pack. And if you go to the weapons, you'll see that there's these models here. You could probably find some free assets somewhere. I'm not really sure where. I might do a video on where you can get some free assets at some point. But here we have some weapons. Our weapon, since we are idle hip with a rifle, we're going to use let's see, we're going to use assault rifle A. Go back to our mannequin. We're going to right click on right hand, and we want to add preview asset. And in the top up here, we want to do rifle underscore A, because now I know which one it is. And we're going to use assault rifle A. This will preview how it's going to be. We're not going to rotate the gun. We're going to rotate the socket, because the socket is going to be what is straight. We rotated a full 90 degrees, and now we're going to move it into place to where the handle and the socket fit into the player's hand. Probably the best that we could do at the moment. I mean, you can go ahead and fine tweak it if you like. But I am going to call this good right here. I mean, there are plenty of things that we could do to fix whatever this is by fine tweaking the positioning of this. But we're going to call this good because we're not really looking for perfection in a template. We're going to save that. Because this is only a preview, this will not show up in your game. And to make that show up in your game, we're going to go back to the content, open up the third-person blueprint, open up the blueprints, and open up the third-person character blueprint. On begin play over here, event begin play, we're gonna need to spawn the weapon in our hand, and we're gonna do this by creating a custom event, and we're gonna call it spawn weapon. And down over here, we're gonna get the command for spawn weapon. Sorry about my spelling. Off the begin play, we're gonna get spawn weapon event. So now, when the event starts, we're gonna, after doing the health setup, we're gonna spawn the weapon into our hands. And to do this, we're going to go off spawn weapon, and we're going to spawn actor from class. We don't actually have a weapon as an actor, so we're going to have to go back over to our front page, go back to our content, and let's open up blueprint. And we're going to add a new blueprint class as an actor, and we're going to call this rifle base. We don't really need any of this at the moment, but we do need to add a component, which is a skeletal mesh. And we're going to click on skeletal mesh on the right side. We're going to go to the mesh, that big purple box here, and we're going to get our assault rifle A from that. This is our mesh for our rifle. Compile, save. Now I'm going to go back to third person character. We're going to go to select class under the spawn actor. I'm going to get a rifle base. Now, what's happening here is that we need a transform. And so a transform is a location, rotation, and size. That's a transform. It's all of those combined. If we go ahead and split this, we get location, rotation, and we get scales to size. And we'll recombine struct pin back to the spawn transform. Now, to do this, we need to get a socket point, because this is our transform. Our transform needs to be that socket that we had. So off of mesh, we could take our character mesh from the left and drag it right in, and that'll get the reference for mesh. You wanna get socket transform down here, all the way at the bottom. No, actually, get socket bone name. Actually, I believe I was right the first time. Get socket transform. Yeah, get socket transform. Put the return value into the transform. And the socket that we have is named right hand. Compile, save, and now we no longer have that issue because now we have a transform for it. And now we click play. We now have our rifle in our hand. That is a problem. We don't have a rifle to stay in our hand. And so we want to attach actor to component. And again, we want to get the mesh, bring it down here, and we want to get socket bone name. Put the return value into socket name, and then here you want to do the same thing, right hand. Alternatively, you could just drag this. Oh no, you can't, never mind. There is another alternative way you could do it, but that's a different way I was thinking. Compile, save. Parent is going to be self unless it's attached to something. You want to keep everything relative. Now we click compile and save and then play, and we'll see now. Oh, no, it didn't. You want to snap to target on location. Rotation rule, snap to target. Scale, let's keep that relative. We'll play. Oh boy, we have an issue here. Alright, so the issue is that we do need a parent because it's not going to reference self by alone. It won't be able to reference itself, so we do need to copy this mesh and place that into the parent, because the parent of the socket name is what we need. We could compile, we could play, and now we can run around with our gun. The one problem is that it needs to be rotated itself, and that is in the rifle base. If you remember when we do I'll show you, skeletal mesh, put that under the scene root, or skeletal mesh 1. Let's do mannequin. It spawns this way. So, if you do remember when we started up the AI, it was rotated and the arrow was pointing out of its left hip. Same thing is essentially happening here, but we don't have any indicators as to that's what's actually happening because we don't actually have an arrow. So we're going to go ahead and rotate it 90 degrees, compile, save. Now we click play. Oh, my bad. 180. I'm supposed to go the other way. Compile and save. And now we have a rifle in our hand. It's a little off center, but we can fix that. Alright, so we have a rifle in our hand, but it does nothing. And we're going to go over that in the next video. I'll try and upload that as soon as I can. And that one will include, we'll right click and we'll get a blueprint class started immediately for it, for actor. And we'll call that projectile, because that is what we're going to need to come out of the rifle itself. Alright, well.